Eu preciso você para entender. Eu nunca vou voltar para vender drogas. Entendeu?
O que você explicou.
Whoa, wait a minute, Brian. How about apologising? How about, I don't know, how about, sorry for hiding my past, sorry for not telling you all the facts so that you can make an informed decision. But, sadly, that's not what Ingrid is gonna get. Brian would rather show up uninvited to her house and try and manipulate his way into the most important part of her life.
Pode abrir a portão aqui, passa aqui um pouquinho.
Ah, você tá na frente de casa?
Sim, tô na frente da sua casa. Só queria passar rapidinho pra...
That's not creepy at all. Gosh. Now, before we get into that, let's rewind to the start. So, we left the pair with Brian not knowing where he stood with Ingrid. He was worried his bombshell revelations about his age, the fact that he was a drug user and drug dealer who was shot at, might have scared Ingrid off him.
I did not expect her to react the way that she did. Shows a lack of compassion, and it makes me look at her in a different way. It's not a good feeling.
No, Brian, no, that's not true. It's you that has no compassion by making this all about yourself. Like, sorry, but it's not Ingrid's fault that you decided to hide your past from her. You did that knowing full well that she might not be okay if you told her. So now that she knows the truth, now that she needs time and space to actually digest what you've just revealed, sorry, but you don't get to twist that. You don't get to make it out as if she now lacks compassion. She's a mother of 2 young kids. She's well within her rights to take some time to figure out whether or not she's comfortable with you, the real you, in her kids' lives. And it's pretty clear she's got some real deep thinking to do.
Eu quero acreditar que o Brian, que ele tenha partes boas além desse passado dele. Mas eu não sei como seguir adiante.
Now, learning about Brian's secrets or not, the plan for today was always for the two of them to spend the day apart. Ingrid has to go back home to look after one of her kids, but you also get the impression this might also provide her with the perfect opportunity for her to call this relationship a day. And Brian knows it. That is clearly at the forefront of his mind. So before he drops her off back home, he suggests that they go and have some breakfast. And Ingrid is on board with that. And it's while at this restaurant that Brian tries to clear the air.
Vem no carro, ele falou de coisa pesada e eu senti que você estava me julgando. Ah, você não está vendendo droga hoje? Em dia porque você não anda.
Ingrid's rightly worried that A, Brian might go back to using drugs, and that B, the only reason why he isn't still dealing is because he's now in a wheelchair. Now, whether or not Brian likes that, she is entitled to worry about that, especially as she's just learnt that she barely even knows this man. She doesn't even know his age, for Pete's sake. But yet, somehow, Brian has expertly managed to manipulate this situation to the extent where it's Ingrid who's apologising to him.
Para. Me machucou.
Se machucou, desculpa.
This is wild. He's the one that's lied the entire time they've been together. And yet, look at him. He's the one now acting like a victim, as if his delicate feelings have been hurt. He's really going all out to make her feel like her totally valid feelings and worries are somehow unreasonable. I need you to understand something, he tells her.
Eu preciso você para entender. Eu nunca vou voltar para vender drogas. Entendeu?
O que você explicou.
And I'm also really sorry for lying to you. That was a dick move, is what Brian should have added to the end of that sentence. But, of course, he doesn't. And while Ingrid hears what he said, the truth is, she doesn't exactly look convinced. Like, just look at her body language. She can't even make eye contact with him. She looks so uncomfortable. She just wants to be away from this man. And I think in the back of her mind, she must be questioning whether or not she ever wants to see him again.
Eu quero passar mais tarde e talvez você encontre seu filho, conversar mais com você.
Preciso de mais tempo.
That's a bit presumptuous, isn't it? Like, the balls on the guy. It takes a very special kind of person. Someone with a lot of balls, a lot of confidence, a lot of self-delusion, or whatever you want to call it, to just assume, hours after admitting the things that he has, that she'd let him into her kids' lives.
A caixa de cerveja cada dia e 3 gramas de cocaína na mesa.
Life for me when I was a dealer was a little bit exciting.
And we can clearly see Ingrid's answer. It's a firm no. Now, keep that in mind because it becomes very important later on. Ingrid doesn't want him anywhere near her kids, and for right now, she's not sure she wants to be near him either. She really just needs time to figure out what she wants. So, after the pair finish up their breakfast, Brian drops Ingrid home, and unfortunately, the one thing that Ingrid wants from him, the one thing she feels that she's owed, Brian completely fails to give her.
Tava esperando desculpas do Brian esconder o passado dele, mas não procurou se explicar ou... Obrigada.
Nada.
So Brian is left to his own devices for the rest of the day, and the more time that passes by without hearing a peep from Ingrid, the more worried Brian seems to become. You see, it gets to the stage where he realises something serious might be up. He realises a big gesture might be needed to try and salvage this relationship. So what does he do? Well, Brian does what every man does when they know they're f***ed up. He heads to a florist. He buys her a very expensive, I'm sorry, bouquet of flowers. But the thing is, and maybe this is just his character, but I'm not sure how seriously he's taking this. Like, I'm not sure I really want to see him laughing and joking about things with the shopkeeper.
Fala desculpa. Tipo, fala desculpa, tá?
Buquê aqui, ó, de rosas.
Sim, tá certo.
Lindo e maravilhoso.
A mulher gosta.
Mulher adora.
Ha ha ha, this whole thing was just a giant hilarious misunderstanding, was it, Brian? Like, the way he's acting, his laughter at the idea that he has to apologise kind of shows that deep down, really, he thinks that Ingrid is overreacting about the whole thing. Now, speaking of Ingrid, remember how she just wanted to have space for the rest of the day? Well, Brian doesn't really care what she wants.
I know that Ingrid asked for space, but I need to stop by and let her know that I care about her. I want to make this work.
Pode abrir, tá aberto. Certo. Obrigado, meu.
Once again, and this is becoming a theme with Brian, he's just completely ignoring the fact that Ingrid has her own feelings. He's making this all about himself. He's decided that he needs to stop by to let Ingrid know that he cares about her. Forget what she asked of him, right? Forget what she wants. Now, he knows that she's at home with her kid and he knows where she lives. So now he's just gonna force himself into that situation, uninvited.
Pode abrir a portão aqui, passa aqui um pouquinho.
Ah, você tá na frente de casa?
Sim, tô na frente da sua casa. Só queria passar rapidinho pra...
Yeah, I'm just outside your house, says creepy Brian. Sorry, but that's creepy, isn't it? He's barged into her life. He's barged into her alone time with her child. And while he'd have no complaints if she were to say, no, sorry, you're not invited, I didn't want you here, what she in fact does is open up the doors, leave her son all by himself, and come outside to see what Brian wants. And there he is with his bouquet of roses. Now, perhaps this is because Ingrid, by her own admission, hasn't been treated particularly well by men in her past. But for some strange reason, Ingrid seems to find this really romantic, even though Brian has yet to give her an apology.
Limousine. Essa pra ti.
Eu
Do
amo
amor.
rosa. Ah, eu amo rosa. Obrigada. Obrigada.
No, sorry, Brian. Look, it's a red flag when a guy can't admit responsibility for his actions, when he can't admit that he's done wrong. But, for now at least, Ingrid seems distracted by Brian's gesture, and that may well have been his plan all along. So, when he reveals that he's also brought some presents for her son, she kind of reluctantly, but she does agree that he can come inside and hand them to her son himself.
E eu tenho uma coisa aqui para seu filho, se aceita também para ele.
Aceito, pode.
Ingrid's gone from, I need time to figure out whether or not I even want this relationship, to now, hours later, introducing him to her son. It's all happened very quickly, and it really does feel like Brian has manipulated this situation. He's sneakily, expertly put himself in a situation where it's very difficult for her to say no.
E aí, que tem? Posso ver? Posso ver não? Que é? Mas que é? Segura pra mim, porque minha mão tá meio fraca.
Look, little Arthur is only 2 years old, and now there's this strange man in his house offering him gifts. Is this responsible parenting from Ingrid? Well, if there's a silver lining to this, it's that at least Brian is good with kids. Let's not forget that his own daughter is Ingrid's age, so maybe his experience might be an asset here.
Brian deu carrinho pra ele.
Não pede mais pra ajudar?
Tá, eu acho.
Né?
Que lindo, mãe. Como é que fala pro tio?
Now, I'm glad that she's introduced him as an uncle, right? Just a regular old guy, not her boyfriend. But having shoehorned his way into her home, Brian is now determined to bond with Arthur. And he's definitely doing so with the hope that one day, if everything goes as he hopes, Arthur might be his stepson. And seeing Brian like this, seeing him play with her son, seems to ease Ingrid's fears and win her back over.
Ele tem jeito com criança e eu fico feliz em ver isso. É esse Brian que eu quero ver mais vezes.
Abraço.
Obrigada.
Não, obrigado a você.
As Brian heads out of the door, Ingrid thanks him for the flowers and the toys, and then kisses him on the lips. It's a stark difference to earlier today when she left him with no hug and definitely no kiss. But, she tells us, things might have improved between them, but it doesn't mean she's entirely forgiven him.
Eu acho legal da parte dele, tipo assim, dele ser legal assim com os meus filhos, mas agora não apaga as coisas que o Brian fez, mas
And that is good to hear. It's good to know that Ingrid hasn't completely put her blinkers on. She's happy to receive his gifts, but that doesn't mean that she's all on board again. Heck, she still hasn't got the sorry that she deserves. But it does definitely raise the question. If flowers and toys can bring about this reaction, I wonder what the prospect of life in America for herself and her kids might do.